Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you're joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, you know what to do. It is Friday. Happy Friday as always. I'm happy to be here. I'm sure many of you are happy to be here. Many of you are looking forward to a 3-day weekend. I am not looking at a 3-day weekend. I'm looking at my normal weekend. I have to work on Monday, but if you don't have to work on Monday, shout out to you. That's the move. It's interesting. I've been watching over the last few days kind of the fallout from the NFL and the way things shaked out, and all of a sudden I've seen this kind of groundswell of people who are trying to blame Eric Bienemy for Kansas City losing. Now that's really baffling to me, because the same people that I hear trying to now blame Eric Bienemy for the Kansas City Chiefs losing are some of the same people who tell us that he should not be a head coach because he doesn't call any of the plays and it's not really his offense and blah, 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 blah. So wait, let me get this straight. So Eric Bienemy is the offensive coordinator. And when they have success, you tell us that the offense is Andy Reid's offense. Okay. But then when they do something stupid, like when the quarterback throws a quick screen outside with no time left on the clock, or a little bit of time left on the clock, when clearly he should have done something else, when he loses 35 yards trying to run around and spin around a bunch of times, when the offense stops running the ball in the second half and they lose, that's now Eric Bieniemy's fault. So when does Andy Reid get any blame? Because this seems like a sweet deal. If I'm Andy Reid, I get to exist in a world where I get all the credit and none of the blame. See how that works? If I get all the credit and none of the blame, then what's the incentive for me to get better at my job? Now, I'm not saying that Andy Reid deserves like credit or blame or whatever. I'm just telling you, based off of the narratives that I see coming out, where people now want to give credit, I guess, to Eric Bienemy for being the offensive coordinator because the offense didn't look good in the second half. By the way, the first half of that game must have been Andy Reid's offense. The second half of that game must have been Eric Bieniemy's. Is that what I'm here to understand? That the first half, yeah, Andy Reid had it. And then right at the end of the first half, Eric Bienemy took over. And then it was Eric Bieniemy's offense at that point when they started. Because that doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. And it's hypocritical. And this is what I talk about when I tell you that black coaches in the NFL have to continually factor in the goalpost moving. They continually have to factor in the fact that the goalpost is moving. And every time they do that, they have to be able to figure out what the next move is. Like, that's unfair. It's unfair If I told you, hey, you have to do, if I gave you a test and I said, hey, you know what, here's the questions, figure out the answers to the test. And then you figured out the answers to the test and you got 100. And I said, yeah, but those are no longer the questions. Here is another set of questions. Figure out these. What if I gave you a test and I told you it was multiple choice, and then you did it in multiple choice, and I said, no, it's short answer. And then you did short answer, and I said, no, it's essay form. And then you did essay form, and I said, no, it's true, false. And every time you did something the way that we told you it was supposed to be done, we changed it on you. We switched it. Like, you would go mad how some of these, or how not all of these black coaches haven't gotten out of the casino when they reach a certain level is totally beyond me. Eric Bienemy is the only coach that I know that continually has his 20-year past examined, where they skip over the 20 years and go back to before the 20. This man for 20 years has been rocking. We haven't heard anything negative about him. No. Let's look at what he did 22 years ago. How about what he did 5 years ago? 10 years ago? And now, when you've all told us that he's not the offensive coordinator, that he's just the offensive coordinator in name, when you've all told us that he really has nothing to do with the construction and the implementation of the offensive game planning, when you all told us that was Andy Reid, and it was all Andy Reid, now you want to blame him? Now you want to blame him for the offense and the bad half of football that they played. You want to blame him for Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball deep down the field and getting intercepted? You want to blame him for Patrick Mahomes taking sacks? You want to blame him? He's the sole reason now. Nobody else gets blamed. After they lost, pretty much every single offensive player came out and extolled Eric Bienemy, talked about how good he is, talked about how is it that all of these players, the ones that matter, come out and say publicly with their name on it how good Eric Bienemy is as a coach, as a person. And yet, the only thing that we hear is you people telling us about how he doesn't interview well, that he doesn't seem to be prepared in a way that other coaches are prepared, that he doesn't have a full vision, and yet the players seem to love him. At what point does one matter more than the other? If I have a coach who seems to be able to hit all the right chords with the players, yet me as a rich white owner, rich white general manager, rich black general manager who doesn't really have a lot of control over personnel and coaching decisions, wouldn't there be an issue? If there's an issue with us, who cares as long as the relationship with the players is good? That's what we have with Eric Bienemy. Because the people who tell us every time that the people who break news or have sources, every time those sources people come out and they tell us, oh, Eric Bienemy doesn't interview well, there's never anybody willing to put their name on it. So Eric Bienemy has interviewed for 14 head coaching jobs, 14 head coaching jobs he's interviewed for. And you're telling me that not one person from those 14 head coaching interviews have been willing to come on camera or go on record with a media person to say that guy didn't interview well. But they're willing to tell the media person so that the media person can destroy this person's reputation without them having any responsibility for it. And why are you media people so hell-bent on doing these rich white men's work for them? They have all the power in the world. They have all the power in the world. They can't absorb a little truth. You know what? I would really respect it if the owner from the Giants or the owner from New Orleans, two places that I know Eric Bienemy may have been considered. I would really love if they came out and said, yeah, you know what? We thought Eric Bienemy might be a good candidate, but when we got him in here, just didn't have the greatest game plan. You know what? If he came out and publicly said that and didn't rely on some journalist to say it for you with anonymous sources, then Eric Bienemy would know what he had to work on. He would understand what he needed to do to get better. If you told us, hey, you know what? We really like Eric Bienemy, but his past is one we just can't really get by. All of the stuff that happened 22 years ago, we just don't want to answer those questions. Now Eric Bienemy knows, okay, I'm going to need to get a team to not focus on what I did or what I was involved with 22 and 25 and 27 years ago. If you were just honest, we as fans would say nothing other than that's messed up. But at least he was honest. Instead, you send the internet guy out who has the following, that has sources. You send him, you feed him some information that you want out there, and he gladly does your dirty work, or she gladly relays that message. Why? Because it's gooey, it's yummy, it's a morsel. I don't know what it means that he doesn't interview well. You know, I don't really know what that means. I don't know how you get to a point where you don't interview well, yet every time I hear you talk, you sound like you have it together. I don't get it where they say you don't have a plan, or they don't like your plan, you don't have a drawn out plan, but you're an offensive coordinator in the NFL. I don't understand how that happens, because I keep watching all of these other offensive coordinators who I know don't call the plays, because I see the head coach calling the plays on the sideline. I keep watching them all get jobs. Zach Taylor has a job in Cincinnati. He ain't calling no plays. McDaniel just got the job in Miami. He ain't calling plays. Shanahan is. McVay's assistants, left and right, getting jobs, don't call plays. The offensive coordinator for the Packers just got a job. The head coach calls the plays. What are we talking about? Make up your mind. It doesn't make any sense. Make up your mind. If you're going to give him blame, then give him credit as well. Don't tell me that, oh, well, he's coordinating, the offense for the half of football that they played poorly. And then don't give him credit for the first half where they look like world beaters. That's disingenuous. The Lakers have an issue. Now all of a sudden, AD's hurt again. And that's not all of a sudden because AD's been hurt before. But now you have people that are coming out and saying that they need to trade AD away. They need to trade AD away. And while I understand where they're coming from and why they might believe they need to trade AD away, I just don't agree. I don't believe that you trade away AD. I don't believe that bringing AD in was the mistake. The mistake was keeping Kyle Kuzma and letting go Lonzo Ball, because you had it set up, right? So you trade for AD, you get rid of Ingram, he's got to go. You get rid of Randall, he's got to go. Those are the talents, the big talents. Then you say, well, Kuzma's the guy we want to hold on to. Why? Is Kuzma a 3-and-D guy? No, he's a volume shooter. Volume shooter's not going to work when you got LeBron and AD. Volume shooter's not going to work. Lonzo Ball, is he a 3-and-D guy? Not necessarily. But you know what he is? He's a D guy. Lonzo Ball can lock up with the best of them. And he has a high basketball IQ, which means he would go great right alongside LeBron James, who also has a high basketball IQ. Does he shoot the greatest? Nope. Guess who he shoots better than? Russell Westbrook. So juxtapose not having to then give away all of these other assets to bring in Russell Westbrook because you already have Lonzo Ball. The problem that the Lakers, my squad, have right now is they're depleted. They don't have enough assets because all of their assets are locked up in 3 people. So when those 3 people either can't perform or don't perform up to what they should with how much has been given up for them, you're going to struggle. The answer to that is not to get rid of one of the best players in the NBA. The answer is to get that man better training. Spend your money, Lakers. Spend your money to make sure that he is better. Spend your money to make sure that all of these boo-boos and scrapes and knickknacks that take him down for a week and 2 weeks and 3 weeks and 4 weeks don't happen. You don't give up on the talent. Imagine if Golden State had given up on Steph Curry after Steph Curry spent the first few seasons in the NBA with those ankle injuries. You'd never see the chef. You'd never see the chef with the Warriors. If they give up on him, then the narrative is written. He goes somewhere else, and now he's Seth Curry instead of Chef Curry. And it's okay to be Seth Curry. You make a lot of money, Seth Curry, but you don't make that Steph money. You don't become the chef. You don't become the all-time three-point leader. How crazy is it, by the way, that every time Steph Curry hits a 3, it's a new record? Imagine if you had that type of cachet. Every time LeBron James scores a point, it's a new record. That's fly. Like, that is fly. But you don't get rid of AD. You retool, you repurpose. You only have LeBron for a finite amount of time. You know you need somebody else to play with him. You can't keep having LeBron James out here playing power forward. Dude's 37 years old. At some point, you're going to wear him down. But you know what you can do? You have AD playing center. And now, you know, he's got to come to the reality of this. Hey, You don't like to play center, but guess what? We like you to be on the court, and you haven't been on the court, so now you got to meet us halfway. We've stuck with you through all of these injuries. You now have to play the position that we need you to play in order for us to be successful. We need you to be Chris Bosh plus. Because for as great as Chris Bosh was, he wasn't a rim protector. So now you get Chris Bosh with rim protection. AD offseason, get back in the lab, get that deep ball back working. Not so you can stand outside and shoot threes, but so that when you clear out so that LeBron can attack or that another player can attack, they can kick it out to you and you can knock down the three. I think you're shooting something like 11% from the three-point line. Get that trash out of here. You're better than that. So whenever you come off this ankle injury, because I'm not willing to give up on you. I don't believe in giving up on supremely talented people who are good people. Now, if you were an a-hole, nah, get him up out of here. But he's not. Juxtapose that with what they're doing in Philadelphia, where they brought James Harden in to try to be the final piece to the process, right? But they forgot James Harden's not an alpha. And when you're not an alpha in the playoffs, you get exposed. And every year of his career in the playoffs, James Harden has been punked by somebody on the other side that don't give a damn about James Harden. And now that's supposed to be your missing piece to the process. Joel Embiid is telling you, hey, man, I'm a top 3 player in the league. Okay. So now Joel Embiid, it's on you. It shouldn't matter that James Harden's there because he's not the alpha. You are. But James Harden's not enough. And why is James Harden not enough? It's really simple. Dominates the ball, number one. Number two, he plays no defense. So if James Harden gives you 30 and he's guarding one of these killers, guess what? That dude's getting 30. And if he gives you 30, but he's guarding like the Nets guy, and that guy who normally gets 12 gets 18 or 19, guess what? It's still a loss. Because James Harden's not trying to check anybody. And James Harden wants it James Harden's way, the same way that Ben Simmons wanted it Ben Simmons' way. And I've been hard on this mental toughness thing lately because everybody's been on the mental health, but no one's talking about how to build it. And guess what? James Harden isn't mentally tough. That's why he's always wanted out. That's why he wanted out in Oklahoma City, because he wasn't a starter. He didn't just want to beat out somebody. He just wanted to be handed his job. Then he got to Houston. Star after star after star comes in. They don't have success. Who gets the blame? Not James Harden. They do. Coaches come in. Who gets the blame? Not James Harden. They do. In the end, they bend over backwards, and James Harden still wanted out. Now he gets to the Nets. Stars everywhere. People get hurt. Those stars perform while James Harden's getting in shape, while James Harden's dealing with injury, while James Harden's not playing. But the moment that James Harden has to hold them down by himself, he don't want to do it. He's mad. He don't like it. So what does he do? He gets out of there, faking injuries. Come on, man. When people show you who they are, you believe them. Michelle Tafoya don't ride with us. Guess what? We know it. She showed it to us. Now we believe her. James Harden's not that guy. He's a 3. He's not an alpha. Might be a 2. He's a 3+. On any given night, he could be a 1, but he can't be a 1 forever because he's never been a 1. All of the years that he was a 1 in Houston, what did they win? Nothing. And guess what he's going to win with Philadelphia? Nothing. Because he's not that dude. Sorry, Joel. Keep doing you, I guess. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. We do this thing almost every day. Not on the weekends because you know what? We don't like you that much. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, whatever you do. Keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, you know what to do. Catch me this afternoon. I'll be broadcasting another triple header, SEC PSS. Games of the night, Region 3, 4A championship. The girls, the boys, and the boys' third place game at 4:30. We'll kick it off at Benedictine. Make sure that you tune in. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, Coach Gene Clemens. We'll see you next time. Peace.